Hello everyone, my handle is alamone. I'm an arcade PCB enthusiast. I'm in particular into 2D shooters, aka shmups. I have a pretty large PCB collection, and I have 3 CRT cabs. I've also developed some ROM hacks for practicing shmups on PCBs. A link to my hacks is in the description below. In particular, the Gradius 4 hack that I made is very full-featured and has a lot of options like stage select, rapid fire, in-game pause, full power up anytime, weapon select, display gadgets for showing the current loop in stage, option hunter timer, and blue capsule countdown. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the description below. But anyways, enough about myself. What is this video? Well, this video is a rebuttal and clarification in response to MarkMSX's, aka the Electric Underground, who posted a EXA-Arcadia review video. The link to that original video is in the description below. Normally I don't do videos, but since he posted a video on YouTube, I figured the best way to respond to it is by posting another YouTube video. I don't normally do videos, so I won't have any fancy production values, but it'll be mostly me just talking and rebutting his points. So I have nothing against MarkMSX personally. In fact, I helped with his Dodonpachi ROM hack commission to Grego, which allows you to skip to any stage and also to the second loop. But I also fixed some bugs with regard to the bomb meter being glitched on if you went to 2-1, and also adding some quality of life features like speeding up the little spiel that the Taisa gives you before the last boss shows up, and letting you skip the credits, and also fixing a lot of bugs with the 2P side, because a lot of the assembly code in the original hack was hard-coded to only apply to the one-player side, and I fixed that to also work with the two-player side. And so a link to that ROM hack on GitHub is in the link below, in the description below. So anyways, I felt that MarkMSX's original EXA-Arcadia review video was just too one-sided and filled with inaccuracies, so I kind of had this idea brewing in my head to post a rebuttal to kind of address these inaccuracies and kind of provide I guess a different perspective on the EXA-Arcadia system. Now, just as a disclaimer, while I personally know many of the EXA-Arcadia staff members, this is in no way a paid promotion video. This is completely in my own opinion. EXA-Arcadia is not paying me to put this video up. This is just my own thoughts and observations. So yeah, let's first talk about EXA-Arcadia as a company themselves. They are first and foremost arcade enthusiasts who would like to see the arcade scene thrive. They have all contributed to the arcade community in one way and another. The CEO, Eric Chung, aka Showtime, he's an arcade game enthusiast who has a very massive arcade PCB collection and also console game collection, and he's very much into the arcade game and console game preservation scene. So he seeks out rare and hard to find games to preserve them and have them dumped and safely stored for future use by for future generations to take a look at and enjoy. And so he tries to rescue games that would otherwise just be forgotten by by being in some person's collection and never be dumped. So that's the CEO. He is obviously a very big arcade game enthusiast. I mean, he founded his own company just to address his love of arcade games, and so that's just the description of the CEO. I also know some of the employees or contractors for EXA-Arcadia. One of them is Alex Marshall, also known as Trap 15. He's one of the core developers of the EXA-Arcadia software. He's made many arcade hacks and enhancements, including a way to fix bricked Cebu SPI motherboards called SPI Revive. Link is in the description. Basically, when you're doing the cart swap from one game to another on the SPI motherboard, if the power is cut while the data is being uploaded to the motherboard, then the next time you boot it up, you'll get a checksum error, and basically you break your system. But Trap 15 developed a program called SPI Revive, where you basically mod a Raiden Fighters 1 cart, and by putting that modded cart on your motherboard, you can fix that checksum error and then get your SPI motherboard up and running again. So that's a great way to fix that error and prevent these SPI motherboards from getting bricked. He's also developed a lot of arcade PCB hacks and enhancements, arrange modes, and he made some bug fixes. For example, one is called Metal Slug 2 Turbo, which was commissioned by the owner of the Shmups forum, System 11, and there's a link to that modification in the description below. I'm also know Mike Moffat, also known as Hatsune Mike. He's also a developer at EXA. He worked on the EXA label gimmick. He designed a PCB streaming device called the NAC Splitfire. NAC stands for I believe it's NorCal Arcade Club. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what it stands for. Because Mike used to live in the Bay Area in NorCal, but he has since then moved to Japan to work with EXA-Arcadia. There's a link in the description below to this NAC Splitfire device, which lets you very easily stream a JAMA arcade cabinet video feed and audio feed in real time for streaming your live gameplay from a cabinet, and very useful device, especially if you combine it with a OSSC or another upscaler that will let you feed the video input into a capture card, especially because a lot of capture cards won't accept the direct 15 kilohertz signal from most PCBs. So something like a OSSC in the middle will help to kind of smooth out those incompatibility issues. So that said, although I know a lot of the employees of EXA-Arcadia personally, I'm not here to be a shill for EXA. While I do defend them in this video, I will also cover the issues I have with them as well. In particular, I have issues with the way they handle cartridge updates, and also the quality of the prints on their limited edition motherboards. But again, I will cover those later in the video. So to give a broad overview, there's 5 points I would like to cover with regards to the video review that our MarkMSX made for the EXA system. So the first one is the warranty void sticker. I think MarkMSX spent about 70 or 80% of the video just talking about this and complaining about this warranty void sticker. Oh, it's it's illegal to have a warranty void sticker, blah blah blah. But I think he misunderstands who the target audience of the EXA system is, and I'll describe that in further detail later in the video. The second point is when he had this kind of warranty denial sob story about his friend who he borrowed the EXA system from. This story just, I don't think it passes the sniff test. It just sounds too suspicious to be blaming, assigning the blame wholly on EXA like MarkMSX did. I'll go to it in more detail further in the video, but needless to say, I think that there's more to this story than MarkMSX fully disclosed in his video. The third point I want to discuss is the price. MarkMSX made a lot of complaints about the price, and even the video thumbnail is him like an image of him like being a baller and saying that you have to be a baller to afford this thing. But I would say that it's not that different from the price of say a Neo Geo MVS or AES at the time that the system came out. So I'll describe that in further detail below or further in the video. The fourth point I'd like to talk about is that I feel like MarkMSX coverage was way too one-sided in the negative direction. He skimmed or basically ignored a lot of the positive aspects of the system, and that's because it seemed like he was too afraid to give a thorough kind of evaluation of the system, because he was too afraid of breaking it, I guess. But again, there's unless you try to hack the system, you're not going to break the system. So I don't understand why he had to use like kitty gloves to try to handle the system. It's just it's made for arcade operators. It's going to be running 24/7 in a stuffy cabinet. There's no reason for him to not give it a full review coverage. But he said, I put it in the living room, I forbid anyone from even touching it, and it's just kind of ridiculous. The fifth point is the aspects of EXA that I don't like, and again, as I alluded to previously, these are related to the way that the offline cartridge updates are handled, and how the paint job on the limited edition systems. So those are the 5 aspects I'd like to cover. So let's just get into it. The first one is the warranty void sticker. And so I'd just like to say that purchasing arcade PCBs as an individual is not a given right. I mean, companies generally don't even offer new arcade games directly to the general public. Like, try to buy a new arcade game from a larger manufacturer. They won't even give you the time of the day. These things are first and foremost directed towards arcade operators, so they need to address their concerns, not the general public, not the general consumer. So him focusing on the warranty void sticker from like a right to repair kind of angle is just not. It's just not the right angle to be covering the system. It's meant to meet the concerns of the arcade developers. As you might be aware, bootlegging and piracy in the arcade scene is a huge problem, especially for PC-based hardware. And so, for example, MarkMSX complained about the lack of an online update feature, but again, this is to harden the security of the system. It's not a quote-unquote oversight as MarkMSX characterized it. I mean, look at previous consoles. How many consoles were hacked because of buffer overflow bugs or rendering bugs in web browsers, or proxy server redirects, or other workarounds. I mean, why expose your system to these attack vectors if you don't have to? So I do understand why EXA chose to make updates entirely offline, although I do have issue with how these offline updates are handled, as I'll discuss later in the video. And then he expresses surprise that it's basically just a generic PC. But I have a newsflash: like basically all companies have been using PC-based hardware since around the 2000s. It's simply not cost effective to use bespoke PCB designs like it was in the earlier days in the 80s and 90s. So I mean, if you get a modern arcade hardware, 99.9% of the time it's just going to be a PC, and that's just how it is. So that's all I like to talk about the warranty void sticker. The second point is his warranty denial sob story. I think it just sounds way too suspicious. He talked about, there's some kind of mildewy smell from the system, and that somehow gave him the right to open the system and expect that EXA would take care of him. That just sounds really off to me. And merely replacing the CMOS battery does not break the system. I confirmed this point directly with the CEO of EXA. He said that just replacing the CMOS battery is not going to break the system. So MarkMSX, when he was talking about, if the company goes under, these things are going to break because the CMOS battery is eventually going to die. Well, that's just fake news. That's not going to happen. So the CEO of EXA told me that only attempting to circumvent the security is what causes the system to break. So again, this becomes a he said, she said situation. Who do you believe? Some guy who says that there's some mildew smell from the PCB, and that gives him the right to open it and try to hack the system, or the CEO of the company? Just reading between the lines, I think what happened is that the guy was trying to mess around with the system, trying to get around the system security, and that's what caused it to break. And then he tried to blame the company for his attempt to hack the system. And in the end, this guy admitted to buying a second system. So I think that in itself, actions speak louder than words. I think that shows conclusively who was in the right in this. So that's all I have to say about this sob story. The third point is the price. MarkMSX made a lot of noise about the price of the system, and he even put this little cute thumbnail where he's wearing like a top hat and a monocle and has like a cane, and are you baller enough to afford this system? But again, I think you have to think about the target market. The target market is arcade operators, not individuals. These are brand new arcade systems, and further, they don't have a requirement of online profit sharing, which if you look at the Japanese arcade scene, basically every manufacturer requires you to have online profit sharing. For example, if a user puts in a 100 yen coin, 40% of it goes straight back to the manufacturer, and so the arcade operator operates, he only gets 60 yen out of that, and that's on top of purchasing the or in the case of online revenue sharing, leasing is not even an outright purchase, it's a lease of the arcade cabinet. And so it's just not a fair system for the arcade operator. And in EXA's case, you just purchase the motherboard and the games outright, and there's no ongoing profit sharing that you have to pay to the manufacturer or the game company. So in that respect, it's actually a good deal for the arcade operator. And depending on how busy your location is, you can easily recover the cost of the system itself in the course of a few months. So the price comparison should not be against a PS5 or a console, but it should be against the cost of a new arcade game. And I don't know if you looked at the prices of new arcade games, but if you look at a new Raw Thrills cabinet, for instance, it's going to cost you over $40,000, and the EXA system only costs you a couple $1,000s, and you can insert it into an existing CRT or LCD cab that you already have, and you don't have to pay online profit sharing to the game company. So all in all, I think the price is very reasonable for the arcade operator. Now, even if you consider that the price might be on the high side for individual use, I would argue that the pricing model is not that different from, say, the Neo Geo AES. Because as you know, the Neo Geo, when it came out, there were two models: the MVS, which was directed towards the arcade, and the AES, which was directed towards the home market. And the price was $650, but it was released in 1990. So accounting for inflation, that's about $1,500 in 2023 dollars. So the EXA motherboard, yeah, it's more expensive. It's $2,600, about $2,600. But comparing that to $1,500, I don't think that's that big of a difference. And the hardware specs, if you consider the hardware specs at the time that the MVS was released, I would argue that the EXA hardware is more advanced than the MVS hardware when it came out. When the MVS hardware came out, it was using the Motorola 68 and kind of just the usual chips of that era. The EXA motherboard, it's comparable to a mid-range gaming PC, but there's development costs. They have their own bespoke operating system, and they have to tweak the games to run reliably 24/7 in an arcade environment. So there are costs for development that have to be factored into the cost of the system. So it's different from just buying an off-the-shelf PC. So the price has to reflect that. So what I'd say where the pricing stumbles is the cost of the games. The cost of the AES games, for example, they ranged from about $200 to $300 at the time, and while that was expensive compared to, say, a $60 to $80 SNES or Genesis game at the time, you were getting the direct arcade experience. So I would say that they're not directly comparable. So EXA games, right now they cost around $500 for, say, like the Riki enhanced NES ports, up to about $2,400 for the higher ticket items, which is the Cave, Tuapalan, Toho, things like that. Yeah, that's on the higher side, but again, the arcade market is the primary target, the primary audience. So I'd say that those are reasonable prices for new arcade games. So, for example, if you look at the used market for some of the games that these are based, some of the EXA versions are based on. For example, Gimmick, the Exact label is obviously a remake of the original Gimmick, which was on Famicom. I took a look at Yahoo Auctions Japan, and a recent new box copy sold for 161,000 yen. And that's just the original game. The EXA version has some new modes and updated graphics and some new music as well, arranged by famous composers. So I think there's some additional value to the EXA version as well. If you look at Saidaiyojo, the most recent Yahoo Auction Japan full kit went for 461,000 yen. and that didn't even include the original poster. The EXA version, has new modes. It costs less than 461,000 yen. It has better audio and graphical quality. I used to have the original Cave PCB. For some reason, when they were mastering the audio, they did a really bad job. Like, the audio is very overdriven and clips a lot, sounds really bad. That's the primary reason why I ended up selling it, and I ended up buying the EXA version because just the audio quality on the original PCB was just so bad. So, given the prices on the secondary market, one could argue that the EXA provides a better or cheaper alternative to some of these really expensive games on the secondary market. So that's all I'd like to discuss about regards to price. So the fourth point is that the coverage on the review was very highly negative. There was almost no description about the positive aspects of the system. For some reason, MarkMSX was too scared to use the system for fear of damaging or breaking it or whatever. But again, it's not going to be bricked unless you try to hack it. There's a lot of positives that he didn't cover. For example, the wide compatibility with various monitors. It even supports old school 4:3 aspect ratio CRTs if you use a HDMI or DVI to VGA converter, which you can get for relatively cheaply on Amazon. This lets you slot the EXA into both old school CRT cabs as well as more modern LCD cabs, and you can also use it on consumer or professional CRTs like a PVM if you have the proper converters, or you can connect it to a PC standard VGA CRT, or you can connect it to an LCD TV or OLED TV, or whatever you have, as long as it has a DVI or HDMI port. So it's very flexible in regards to how it connects to video monitors. Also, the EXA developers, they have a respect for the source material that I find that a lot of other companies may not have. For example, if you take a look at Gimmick, there's another company called Bitwave Games that's developing a remake or remaster of the original Famicom game. They're calling it, I think, Gimmick Special Edition. But if you go look at their trailers, you notice something that's off. The screen is very square looking, and that's because they just map the pixels as is by using square pixels. The NES resolution is 256 by 240, and if you use square pixels, then it ends up looking almost like a square. But it's when the NES is going to output to a CRT TV, that video signal is going to be stretched out so that it displays as a 4:3 aspect ratio. When we were kids playing NES, we didn't play on square TVs. We played on 4:3 aspect ratio TVs, and I think whoever the developers are at Bitwave Games, maybe they just didn't play Famicom when they were growing, or NES when they were growing up, because that would be something you would very quickly realize when you're playing the game, that it looks off. The aspect ratio is off. But even in their most recent trailer, you can still see that they're using that incorrect aspect ratio, and it was even pointed out to them, and they still stuck to their guns and still using this incorrect aspect ratio, presumably because it's easier to program or implement. And that just shows you the difference between EXA and other companies with regards to the respect they give to the original source material. So that's one thing that's a positive of EXA that I think that MarkMSX just completely ignored. Another point is that EXA puts a lot of emphasis on providing the best gameplay feel. They put a lot of emphasis on reducing input lag. They transparently list the measured input lag of all of their games on directly on their website. Try to get input lag numbers from any other developer. You're just not going to get it. They don't have the tools to measure it, or they just don't care. One thing, for example, the recently released Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. The input lag on that one was like it was as bad as 6 or 7 frames. 90 milliseconds. That's at that point, it's pretty hard to ignore the latency. But the company just said that, well, they didn't encounter any issues during testing, and they deny that there's any latency issue. And a lot of developers, that's their stance, that latency just isn't an issue, or is such a minor issue that it's not worth it for them to pour resources into addressing it. But EXA puts these numbers, hard numbers, front and center, and lists it transparently for every game that they publish. And I think that's a really commendable thing, and not a lot of companies do that. Mark seemed to have, he might have mentioned that, but I think he didn't give EXA enough credit for publishing those numbers. EXA has gone as far as developing their own protocol, which they call JVS-, which further reduces the input lag in comparison to traditional arcade protocols like regular JVS, which a lot of implementations have a lot of latency on them. So obviously, if they bother to develop their own bespoke protocol, they care about the game feel and the responsiveness of their games, which a lot of companies like with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collection, they just don't care. So again, I think that's a positive for EXA that Mark just didn't give them enough credit for. And finally, the fifth point is the points of EXA which I don't like. Even though there are a lot of good things, as I discussed, there are some things that I think could be improved. So the first thing is the update process. As a customer, you have to pay shipping both ways. You pay to ship from you to EXA's service center, and then you have to pay it to ship from EXA's service center back to you. And the process for doing it is a bit unclear. They give you a form to fill out, and they tell you the address to send it to, but they give you no guidance on which carrier you should use or whether you should insure it. I mean, these cards can cost up to $2,000 after all, and insurance for a $2,000 card is not cheap. But when I did an update for my cards, I decided to roll the dice and just send it without insurance, and luckily nothing happened. But recently I sold something, a Steam Deck, to a person on a forum, and UPS ended up losing the package for over a month, and packages get lost. So this is an issue, and I think EXA would benefit by having some clear policies with regards to what happens if a card is lost, whether they would reimburse you or not if the carrier loses the package. I think they should have some written policies with regard to that, and they don't at the moment. With regards to MarkMSX's review, he kind of stated that, oh, well, I don't think it's good for the system's longevity for sending the system back and forth. But I think he misunderstands what exactly you're sending to get updated. You're not sending the motherboard, you're sending the carts, and the carts are basically just flash memory chips. Flash memory chips are very rugged and reliable. They're not going to spontaneously combust just by shipping them to their service center. So I think that his concerns were overblown with regards to sending the motherboard, because you're quite frankly, you're not going to be sending the motherboard. You're going to be sending just the carts. So that part of his review was just inaccurate, plain and simple. The other issue was, I think that the paint job that they have on the limited edition motherboards is not applied well, or the process that they have is not there 100% yet, because I bought the Saidai Ojo limited edition, and it's the paint is already peeling in places quite a bit. A lot of the lettering is flaking off on the text. Some of the artwork has flaked off as well. These are marketed as limited edition collector's pieces, so I would expect these to be a little bit more robustly applied to survive the rigors of day-to-day usage. Personally, I don't mind that much, because as long as I'm able to play the game, I don't really care that much. I'm not really a collector. I get games because I want to play them. But it might be a deal breaker for collectors who want to keep everything pristine and looking nice. So I think it would behoove EXA to look into their printing process and see if there's a way to design it better, or at least put something protective on top so that the paint doesn't flake off so easily. But yeah, so those are the issues I have. The shipping back and forth of the carts, and the paint on the limited editions. But overall, I'm still pretty happy with my purchase, and I just wanted to provide a rebuttal and a different perspective, because I think MarkMSX was kind of unnecessarily negative. Now, I know, if you're a YouTuber, you gotta, generate controversy to get the clicks. I mean, if you look at his thumbnail, I think it's pretty obvious that he's trying to get some clickbait, but, I think he needs to be a little bit more impartial in his review, and that's why I made this video. So this video has already gone on for too long, so I think I'll end it here. Thanks for watching.